my god. How do people just talk to cameras? Hi everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to my brand new channel. It feels so good to finally be able to say that because I've been wanting to make a YouTube account, well, channel, for so long now, but I've finally just decided to do it and I think I made the right decision. For my first video, I've decided to choose a topic that I've had a lot of experience with in the last year, and I thought that it could help a lot of people kind of just starting out in the job industry or even people that are still in school and want to kind of get ahead. So today I'll be talking about networking. I'll be giving you 5 tips on how you can improve your networking skills and even just get started in networking if you're still in school or looking for a brand new job. But before I do that, I'll kind of go into a little bit of a background as to why I chose this and why it's kind of a more personal subject for me. So up until this last year, I was kind of extremely afraid of networking. I'm a more introverted personality, and being in a room of random strangers and being forced to talk to them kind of sounds like my nightmare. I'm sure that resonates with a lot of you guys as well, so this video is kind of here to let you know that it's not impossible to network while being an introvert, and that it's a lot easier than it actually seems at the beginning, as long as you follow kind of a few guidelines and really just practice until it becomes second nature. So I said that I've been doing a lot of networking this past year. That's mostly due to the master's program that I just completed. So through the school, they were always hosting networking events. They were always putting us into contact with other events and really pushing us to network as much as we could so that we would have connections in the industry once we graduated. So I thought, you know what, I don't really know much about this industry, so I might as well take this year and try to learn and meet as many people as I can so I'm a little bit more set up for a job once I graduate. So I think I probably went to about 30 networking events this year, which I don't know if that's a lot to you or not, but to me it was a lot because I had been to maybe 1 or 2 in the past, and I had stayed for maybe 5 minutes and then left because I just didn't want to talk to anyone or kind of go up to random strangers. But I think that networking is really important, and most people get their jobs that way. Like, I've talked to so many people, and I'd say about 90% of those people got their jobs because of a networking connection or a friend or somebody that they knew. I feel like it's kind of rare these days to just put an application through and get the job that way. Even myself, most of the jobs that I've gotten in the past were because of people that I knew or connections I had made. So I think it's really important to kind of get a head start if you can and really master the art of networking. So my first tip is to just start looking for events that are in the industry that you want to learn more about, or just a field that you're interested in. An easy way to do this is through Facebook. I find most of my networking events through Facebook groups, or if there's a company that I'm interested in, I'm following them on Facebook. They'll often post when they're going to have info sessions at my school or other events within the community. So if you kind of sign up for those, you'll always get the events in your feed, and it'll be really easy access to see them and be able to go to them. Another great way to find events that I've used a lot this past year is meetup.com. So they have, well, it's a platform that has groups for pretty much anything and everything you could ever think of. So let's say you're interested in baking, there's baking groups in your area, there's board game nights in your area. So it's not just for networking, it's also for fun events, but I use it mostly for networking because a lot of companies in my city post on there, and they post the events that they're holding, and sometimes they're not on Facebook. So I'd say that's kind of my #1 source where I can find events, and I'm pretty sure that's a worldwide site, so you can use it wherever you are. But yeah, I'd say that's, I guess, the first step in furthering your networking skills. So #2, you're finally going to an event. You're probably really nervous, or not, depending on your personality. But for me, I was pretty nervous before going to events, especially if I was going to them alone. So I think the most important thing while you're going to an event is, remember, confidence is key. So, I mean, you don't have to feel confident inside, but fake it till you make it, right? Just present kind of a confident aura. You're there to meet people, and that will kind of radiate to others, and they'll approach you a lot of the time. So when I first started going to networking events, I was a little shy to approach others, especially because, you know, they'd be sometimes in larger groups and I didn't want to just approach the group randomly. But a lot of people actually approach you if you kind of just present yourself with like kind of an open demeanor, and yeah, that's why they're there, right? They're there to meet people and to network themselves. So a lot of people, especially if probably they have more extroverted personalities, will come up to you and they'll start chatting to you. So just be confident in yourself and in what you have to offer, and conversations kind of start flowing from there. So my third tip is also for when you're at the networking event, and it's to really try to make it a two-sided conversation between you and whoever you're talking to. So a lot of networking events tend to have a couple of different types of people that go there. So there's kind of the seasoned professionals who are there to help mentor people potentially, or to help try and find employees. And then there's, you know, just people that are kind of going because their work sent them and they're not really looking for anything in their career oh my god. They're just there to mingle. And then the third is kind of new grads, students, or people, you know, new to industries that are looking for jobs or potential connections for jobs down the line. So I find that since there's a mix of these type of people, you kind of have to make sure that you're having two-sided conversations with people and you're really giving them something in return as well. I noticed that when I started networking and I would go to these events and I'd see someone that's a manager or a lead at a company that I wanted to work at, I would kind of ask them a little bit too much about the job and what I can do to become a good candidate without asking them too much about themselves and their role in the company. So I feel like people can kind of see through you when you're doing that, and it might not make you look as good as you could if you were just kind of having a natural conversation. And I mean, there's always room to grow with that person. You know, it's probably not going to be the last time you see them, especially if you're interested in working at their company or having some sort of mentorship with them. So I think for the first kind of impression, you just want to be casual and really just talk about, you know, you can talk about work and your professional life, but make sure you're still engaging them in the conversation and that they feel they're getting something out of the conversation too. So for my fourth tip for networking is to always close the conversation. So what I mean by that is don't just leave and say bye and run off and not get any of their contact information. It's important to make sure you either ask them for their LinkedIn, their email, or some sort of actionable item where you can have them in your network beyond the event, and you can reach out to them at a different time and really just still have a connection to them. Because sometimes I found myself forgetting to ask these things, and we had a great conversation. It was someone that I either could have met up for coffee to learn more about the industry with, or potential employer that I wanted to work at. But because I forgot to ask them for their LinkedIn, I usually ask for LinkedIn because I think that's kind of the most professional and it's where people usually talk about jobs and stuff like that. But yeah, so I didn't ask them, and then I didn't know their last name, so I couldn't find them anymore, and it was kind of like a lost connection. You know, you spent all that time building an initial relationship with the person, and then kind of goes to waste if you don't have any sort of information to add them on something later on. So it's really important to just at the end of the conversation be like, hey, do you mind if I add you on LinkedIn? And of course everyone's always like, yeah, for sure, like this is my name, here you go. So it's really easy, it's not awkward. When I first started asking, I felt a bit weird asking because I was like, I don't know, is that something that people do when they network? But I've come to realize that it is something people do, and really nothing is considered weird or awkward during networking events that you might think. Like, I always thought like, oh, it's weird going up to a group of random people and just pushing myself in that group and joining the conversation, but that's how people, I guess, network at these events. I feel like if you have a doubt, just push it out of your mind because it's considered normal unless it's something really weird, but then you probably know it's weird. Anyways, yeah, that's my fourth point. So make sure to keep the connection with people because you never know when you might need to reach out to them. Some people I reached out to months later after events and they remembered me, and you know, it would have been pretty sad if I didn't have that connection after, you know, making the effort to talk to them and to build that initial first impression. So my fifth and final point is to follow up. So after you've left the event, you probably feel great because you've talked to so many people and you're like, wow, I can't believe I did that. I thought I was going to go there and talk to one person, but you know, I really pushed myself to talk to as many people as I could. But this is kind of like the other point. All of that might mean nothing if you don't follow up with them. I mean, depending what you kind of want to get out of them and what type of person they are, you can follow up within the next day and you could just say something as simple as, hey, it was great meeting you. Thanks for teaching me about, you know, XYZ, or thanks for the insight on XYZ. Just to show that you really took something away from the conversation and that it was meaningful to you and that it helped you grow or learn something new. So that's kind of what I would recommend if you don't see an immediate need from that person, like for example, a job or a mentorship opportunity. So at least just shows that, you know, I wasn't just talking to you because I wanted something out of you. So I feel like people usually appreciate that and usually respond. I've had a couple of people that haven't responded to those messages, but that's okay. I guess I didn't need them in my network anyways. I'm just kidding. They're probably busy and I'm sure they get lots of those messages. But yeah, I feel like it's still nice to send one regardless. And then the second type of follow-up that you could send is a more actionable follow-up. So you could say kind of the same thing. Hey, it was great meeting you. It was great learning more about your company or whatever. And then you can say at the end, would you be open to meeting for coffee to further discuss a career in this industry, or, you know, to further discuss whatever you think is of value and what they can offer. So I feel like this is great for people that want to continue building the relationship with people that they met at networking events, because networking events, you know, they're pretty short and people want to move around. You know, you don't want to stay talking to the same person all night. So I feel like it's kind of expected that, you know, after a time frame of, you know, maybe 5 to 15 minutes, I'd say, you kind of move around and talk to different people. I know I always feel bad when I like try to get everything out of a person at a networking event because, you know, they want to talk to other people too. But yeah, this is a great way to kind of keep that conversation going and just build the relationship that you have with that person. So I've gone on a few coffee meetups and I find them really useful and helpful because it's not necessarily that you're going there for the pure purpose of, you know, getting a job with that person, but they can always recommend you to their friends that are hiring or other companies they know, or just even give you a lot of feedback on your search, what you might need to improve your skills on. For example, like if you have a portfolio for your industry, they can take a look at it and give you feedback, you know, what they like, what they don't like. And then sometimes it could just be like a mentorship situation where you're not gonna plan to work for their company or anything like that, but they can help coach you to, you know, really grow in the type of role you want to grow in. And I think that's pretty common as well. And I just wanted to let you guys know that if you do end up going for coffee with people, make sure you prepare in advance. This isn't just you going to coffee with a friend. Everything you say or do is, you know, being looked at from a professional standpoint. So anytime before I go on these lunches or just coffees, I make sure to research the person that I'm going on the coffee meetup with. It's so weird, I don't want to say coffee date 'cause it's not a coffee date, but yeah, coffee meetup, I guess. So yeah, I research them so I know kind of where they are in their career and how they've gotten there, if there's that information available online. I research the company they work at, and then I research kind of things about my industry, so I'm staying up to date in case, you know, they ask me anything, or so I know what I'm talking about and that I appear that I'm growing and evolving with the trends of the industry. And then I also think it's important to come up with some questions or talking points that you want to bring up during the coffee meetup. I usually just write them down in my notebook and then I have them ready in case, you know, I feel like I always forget certain questions I want to ask people during interviews. So I just write them down, and then it's a casual setting so I can just write down the answers they say, and I feel like that shows that you're prepared, that you care about their time and that you care about what they're saying, as opposed to just going there and, you know, letting them talk, because it's really, they're coming there for you. So you're the one benefiting. You should show that you do appreciate that and that you know, you're actually taking what they say seriously and that it's meaningful to you. With that being said, still try to keep it kind of like a two-way conversation. Don't just grill them with like 20 questions you have at once. Ask them a question, then kind of, you know, have a little bit of a casual chat about whatever you said, and then kind of go into the next one. Yeah, so those were my top 5 tips for kind of, I guess, beginner networking and learning really how to network and just the important things to remember when you are networking. I'm thinking that I want to make a video that goes maybe more in depth in certain points and talks about certain scenarios or like actual things you can say when you go up to someone at a networking event, or how to carry on the conversation. So if you guys want to see kind of a second more in-depth part, let me know. But for now, just put yourself out there. And I know sometimes it's hard to just physically get to the event because, you know, you're like, well, I don't really think it's worth it, or am I really going to talk to people? But for me, what I do is I always set a goal of how many people I have to talk to before I'm allowed to leave. So I found that when I started going to these events, I would just talk to one person and be like, okay, that's enough, time to go. But obviously that's not really worthwhile, and I mean, I'm sure that person could be a great person, but you're supposed to, you know, make multiple connections in that night. So usually, depending on how big the event is, I'll kind of scope it out and give myself a number of the amount of people that I have to get like a connection with on LinkedIn, so not just, you know, a conversation. So that kind of forces me to kind of get in that mindset and make sure to achieve that number before I leave. And then sometimes if I'm really not in the mood to network, I'll just like quickly like get all the people and like get their LinkedIn and all that, and then just go. But other times I found that, you know, you end up having great conversations with people, and then, you know, other people get brought into the conversation, so it kind of just spirals and you end up being there for way longer than you thought, and it's all been a great experience and feels natural. So you never know what kind of experience you'll have unless you try it. But yeah, I think that's a great, I guess, last tip of how to really make networking events worthwhile and how to stay. But yeah, thanks for watching my first video. Let me know what other types of videos you guys want to see. I'm trying to kind of focus right now on like business and lifestyle, because that's what I'm interested in, and I feel like that's what I've had a lot of experience in. So keep watching, and of course the classic subscribe. I don't even know which side it is, but yeah, that'd be great. See you guys in my next video. Bye.